Hello there. Welcome to the Papa Dennis Show. I'm Dennis Elliott, and today is December 3rd. Now, think about that. 1 month ago today, what were we doing? We were holding an election. November 3rd, 2020 is when the election was held exactly a month ago. Look at the situation we're in now. We're still in a situation where we know, I mean, if you're a sane person, you know that Joe Biden won the election, is going to be inaugurated on January 20th of 2021. But we've got a president, our current president, he's actually trying to stage a coup. And that's not a far-fetched thing to say. If he had the ability to have the military take over, he would do it. If he could do that sort of thing, if he had the ability to stage an armed coup, he would do it. That's what kind of a person he is. And the only reason he's not doing that is because, thank God, he doesn't have that sort of backing yet. Who knows what could happen? There are people who are actually calling for Donald Trump to declare martial law and to throw out the election. And hope to God we don't get that far. But things are pretty bad right now. They really are. I mean, we're in a precarious situation here in this country because of Donald Trump, and even more so because of his followers, because they're allowing him to get away with this. The Republicans in Congress, his followers are going along with this bullshit that we're having to live through in this country right now. And how many of if you really believe that Donald Trump was cheated out of this election, if you're one of those true believers, I'm sorry, you're an idiot, all right? Because you'd have to be an idiot to believe that. Now, how many people who stand up and say that Donald Trump was cheated out of this election and that, all of these things, all of these rumors about how Joe Biden actually won, how many people actually believe that it's really honestly true? I would say not as many as you might think. Do you remember before we had social media, how rumors and false stories would be spread by email? I remember my email. I used to get these email messages from people all the time about all sorts of outlandish stories, especially about President Obama. That was how things were spread just a few years ago. It was just via email. It wasn't done on social media because social media didn't exist. And I would get these messages from friends and from relatives. And one day I would sometimes, especially with some of my relatives, I would send them information proving that this was just fake stories. It wasn't true. And I remember one relative I had that would regularly send me things, and I sent back information constantly about how these stories are not true, and proved it. And I talked to them one time and asked them, I said, these stories that you keep sending out, they're not true, don't you? Uh, I mean, you don't honestly believe these stories. And they admitted in a moment of candor, no, I know they're not true, but I want them to be. That's why they sent them out. They knew the stories weren't really true, but they wanted them to be true because it would disparage that particular person that they were talking about. And that is the situation that we find ourselves in right now with so many people. There are some true believers out there who believe all of these stories about the Dominion servers and how the fake ballots were turned in. I reading the thing just today. I think it was where I think it was it Michael Flynn who just recently pardoned by President Trump, who was saying that North Korean boats came into the harbor in Maine carrying ballots for Joe Biden and unloaded them and distributed these ballots in Maine and across the country. Outlandish stories like this. People really believe all these stories? I don't think so. I think there are some true believers out there who believe all of this crap. And I'm sorry, they're idiots. They're and there's no convincing them. There's no changing their minds. They're just idiots. But the vast majority of the people, I think, really don't believe these stories, but they want them to be true because it helps to fit their narrative of how Trump lost the election. But they know it's not true, but they go along with it anyway. They spread the stories anyway. They keep they keep the story going, even though it's not. There is a let me bring this up here. Most Republicans say they doubt the election. How many really mean it? And they went through and did some surveys. Surveys consistently found that about 70% to 80% of the Republicans don't buy the results. They don't agree that Joe Biden won fair and square. They say the election was rigged, and they say enough fraud occurred to tip the outcome. Now, that sounds very high, 70 to 80% of Republicans. But does that mean 70 to 80% of the Republicans are idiots? No, because if you dig down deep into it, you find out that not everybody really believes this. Reality is more complicated. Research has shown that the answers that partisans, and this occurs on the left as well as on the right, give to political questions often reflect not what they know as fact, but what they wish were true or what they think they should say. It's incredibly hard to separate sincere belief from wishful thinking from what political scientists call partisan cheerleading. But on this topic especially, the distinctions matter a lot. Are Republican voters merely expressing support for the president by standing by his claim of fraud, or have they accepted widespread fraud as true? Do these surveys suggest a real erosion in faith in American elections or something more familiar and temporary? It's one thing to think that you don't trust the guys in Washington because they're not your party, said Lona Atkinson, a political scientist at the University of New Mexico. But it's a whole other thing if you think, well, gee, they didn't even get there legitimately. She suggested, however, that these results be taken with something between alarm and skepticism. Tracking surveys, which ask people the same questions over time on topics like the direction of the country or the economy, showed a lot of Republicans responding immediately after the election as if they believed the president had lost. Among Republicans, consumer confidence swiftly dropped, as did those results, which mirror past elections, suggest many Republicans knew Mr. Biden would become president, but they don't tell us much about whether Republicans believe he won fairly. In a survey released by YouGov and Brightline Watch, a group of political scientists who monitor the state of American democracy, 87% of Republicans accurately said that news media decision desk had declared Mr. Biden the winner of the election. That rules out the possibility that many Republicans simply aren't aware of that fact. Still, only about 20% of Republicans said they considered the Biden victory the true result, and 49% said they expected Mr. Trump to be inaugurated on January 20th, a belief that's unreasonably optimistic at this point. So there's a set of people who are true believers that Donald Trump won the election and is going to be inaugurated, but that's a relatively small set. There's also a small set of people who acknowledge Joe Biden won, but not nearly as many as you would hope. And there's a lot of people who are at different degrees of acceptance in between. But they will still spread the stories, even though deep down inside they don't believe it and they know it's not true. I don't know if that's I don't know if that means we should be heartened or what, because we're in a very bad situation in this country. And the thing is, the Republicans have brought this all on themselves. They have allowed extremists to take over the party, and now the extremists are driving the vehicle. Instead of the extremists being a part of the Republican Party, the extremists are now in charge and have got the steering wheel, and God help us all. They turn out to bite the Republicans in the ass in Georgia with this 2 Senate races that are going to be held on January 5th. We're only a little over a month away. Now think about it. November 3rd, we had the election. A month later is today, December 3rd. In one more month, and it's going to come quickly, in one more month, in 2 days, we're going to have this election going on in Georgia for the Senate runoff. And there are actually Republicans who are urging other Republicans not to vote for the 2 Republican Senate candidates in Georgia because of what has happened with the election with Donald Trump, which, hey, is fine with me. I am cool with that. All right. All the more power to you. If you think that the election was rigged and you don't want to vote for the 2 Republican Senate candidates in Georgia because of that, hey, go for it. I'm right there with you. Go for it. All right. Because we're going to be much better off if we have 2 more Democrats in the Senate and win control of the Senate. Then we'll be able to see some things actually happen in this country. We'll be able to get rid of Mitch McConnell, who is the devil as far as I'm concerned. They're actually arguing that Trump supporters should not take part in another, quote, rigged election in Georgia. And it's so ironic, isn't it, that, Georgia's got a Republican governor, Georgia's got a Republican Secretary of State, and Donald Trump and other Republicans have just completely thrown those two guys under the bus. I mean, these two guys are not friends of the Democratic Party at all, because they have gone out of their way actually to suppress voting participation in Georgia. They have not done anything to expand voting participation in Georgia. All of the expansion of voter participation in Georgia can be put at the feet of Stacey Abrams. She's done just an amazing job, and she's done that in spite of Brian Kemp and Raffensperger, the governor and Secretary of State in Georgia. That's the reason Georgia went blue. It wasn't because of Brian Kemp and Raffensperger in Georgia. Those two guys did everything they could to suppress the vote for Biden, and they just lost, all right, because it was an overwhelming number of people who came out and voted for Biden. And the ironic thing is the fact that with this election coming up on January 5th, if the two Republicans win, then Trump and other Republicans will say that the election was completely fair and above board, and there was no cheating going on. If they lose, you know what they're going to say. They're going to say that the election was rigged and so it's a no-win situation as far as truth and honesty goes, because according to Trump and the Republicans, if a Democrat wins an election, then obviously it was rigged. That's where we are right now in this country. That's the way they look at everything. If a Republican wins, it was an honest election. If a Democrat wins, it was a rigged election. Logic has just gone completely out the window, and it's being perpetrated by average everyday Republicans who are going along with this. Like right here in Guilford County, up in Summerfield, the Republican mayor B.J. Barnes used to be the Guilford County sheriff. He is still loudly proclaiming that the election was rigged for Joe Biden. He has absolutely zero proof. I've asked him for proof multiple times on his Facebook page. He ignores me completely. He ignores the question completely. He just keeps making the statement that the election was rigged. Does he actually believe this? Is he one of the true believers? Is he one of the idiots who actually, honestly believes that the election was rigged? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he is not one of the true believers, okay? That he is not the idiot that he pretends to be. Because if you want to stand up and say that the election was completely rigged, you're either an idiot or you're pretending to be an idiot, all right? You're pretending you're part of the loony wing of the Republican Party. I don't think he's one of the true believers. I think he is just I think he's just saying this because he wants it to be true, and he's got to go along with it. He can't You see what's happened to any other Republican who's come out and said that the election was honest and that there was no fraud. Look at Attorney General William Barr, another guy who's no friend of Democrats or anybody else, and look at how Trump has turned on him now. So I guess BJ's afraid of having his constituents turn on him if he proclaimed that the election were not rigged. So he's going to go along with it. I don't think he's a true believer, but he's willing to go along with it. He's willing to sacrifice honesty in order to keep the faith with the loony wing of the Republican Party. That's what you got to do now, I guess. You can't be honest if you're a Republican. So that's where we stand now with that whole thing. It's going to come. I hope it comes back to bite them in Georgia. I hope that they end up losing the election in Georgia because they were just too stupid to actually understand that we're in weird times right now. It's hard to describe where we are right now. What else was it I wanted to? I had no, that wasn't it. Yeah, that was it. I did want to play something for you here, though. This is from the Lincoln Project. You've heard of the Lincoln Project, of course. The group of former Republicans who left the Republican Party and actively campaigned against Donald Trump. Successfully, I might add. I think it was, in part due to their activities, the Lincoln Project's activities, that Trump actually lost the election. But they have come out with a new ad about the, that's Whispers. That's not the one. They've come out with a new ad about the Georgia election. And I wanted to play this here for you. It's a pretty good ad. Listen to this and watch it.
Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock are running to serve Georgia in the Senate. So you might think this ad is about Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. Sure, they both received secret COVID briefings while their stockbrokers cashed in. Yeah, they both embrace the crazy conspiracy nuts. But Loeffler and Perdue aren't really on the ballot. No, Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock are really running against Mitch McConnell. If Mitch elects his pet senators, it's 4 more years of what we just voted out. McConnell will block COVID relief for Georgians, stop Joe Biden from appointing qualified doctors and scientists to fight this pandemic. Loeffler and Perdue will vote with McConnell every time, no matter how much it hurts Georgia. No, you won't see McConnell's name on the ballot, but he's there.
The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
That's it. I mean, this Georgia election is about Mitch McConnell. When you get right down to it, it's all about Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is going to do everything he can to stop anything from happening in a positive way with President Biden, and anything that he wants to, any legislation he wants to pass, stimulus to get us out of the spin we're in. He would rather see the economy crash than to help Joe Biden. Isn't that a horrible thing to say about somebody? But it's true. This whole election in Georgia is about Mitch McConnell. Too bad I can't vote. Too bad no one can vote except for the people in Georgia. And let's hope that the people in Georgia see this for what it really is. Here's another one I wanted to show you. And this is about Donald Trump. Listen to this ad.
Donald, listen. Just listen. You know what's coming. You had to know.
We were getting ready
Your legacy?
for a big celebration.
Failure. It's over.
And all of a sudden it was just called off.
Your future? You failed. What future?
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will receive the most votes of any presidential ticket ever.
Ouch. No legacy. Lawsuits. Massive debts. Bankruptcy. Humiliation. Melania might not even stick around. No one wants a loser. Your house of cards has collapsed. It's over. Everything you've put off. Total collapse. Everything you've wanted to hide. All your secrets. They're all going to come out. You can't stop it. You need to accept it.
And former Vice President Joe Biden will become the 46th president of the United States.
President Biden. It's over. You can't stop it. Biden won. He crushed you. Accept it.
I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way.
You can't tweet your way out of it.
400 tweets over the last 2 weeks are mostly false claims of fraud.
You can't sue your way out of it.
A dozen of these lawsuits unsuccessful.
Your lawyers are clowns, and your so-called allies won't save you. They were never going to.
Do you have anything to say to the press?
They won't save you. There's just one thing you could do to help yourself now. One small thing. One thing. Get off Twitter. Put down your phone, and for the love of God, in the name of all that's holy, shut the fuck up.
I love the way they end that. Just shut the fuck up. Hopefully we won't have to worry about anything Donald Trump says after January 20th. What is the world going to be like after January 20th? He'll lose his official Twitter account, but of course he'll have his rearing away on that. But we'll be able to effectively just ignore what he says because he won't be the president anymore. And who the fuck cares what he says if he's not the president of the United States? He's just an average guy. We won't have to worry about him anymore. I am so much looking forward to being bored with the news. I remember before Donald Trump came on the scene, I'd go days without maybe watching a newscast. Now, I can't go more than a few minutes. And it's because of him. And I'm looking forward to the day when life is just sort of boring again. Hopefully we'll get to that point. Hopefully we'll get to it after this COVID-19 pandemic has ended, after we get a vaccine, after Trump is gone. Things are not going to be great because if things are going to be pretty rough for a while. But things are definitely going to be better once Donald Trump is gone. Maybe some of his followers will just chill out and not be such idiots anymore. We can hope for that anyway. But that's all I got for today. Thanks for joining me today on the Papa Dennis Show. I am Dennis Elliott. Check out our podcast on Apple, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Just search for Papa Dennis Show. We're also on YouTube, Twitter. I am Dennis Elliott, and I'll be talking to you again here at some point. Stay cool. All right. Thank you, and goodbye.